Good evening, good afternoon, should I say, everyone. Ryan here alongside Joel.
Hello.
Michigan Storm Chasers here. Going to be a briefing of our severe weather threat this afternoon and evening. So welcome in, everybody. Let's go ahead and jump right on in to this forecast. We're going to keep things nice and simple today. Let's go ahead and dive into things. So on your screen currently, that is your real-time analysis of where the warm front is. If you ask yourself, why does the warm front matter? Well, the warm front is going to be the determining factor today between severe weather occurring in Michigan and severe weather staying south of Michigan. It's kind of like a race, so to speak. Let's explain this for you guys. So currently on your screen there, you see the warm front draped across central Ohio, central Indiana, back through Illinois. This is lifting north towards our direction. All right, let's dive into the model here. So going back, this is the latest model, the short-term model. We're gonna walk through hour by hour here and watch what that warm front's going to do. All right, that warm front is going to slowly lift northward here. Here's 2 o'clock right now, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and about 6 o'clock or so. Do take note, the warm front has basically made it to the Michigan border as of 6 p.m. tonight. But it doesn't really lift that far north past the border. We have some counties down here in the 60, maybe high 50s. But to our south here across Indiana and Ohio, for reference, we're in the 70s and upper 60s there. So a very stark difference in temperatures. Going into the evening hours, here's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then 10 o'clock here. And then we do have some warmer air filling in behind this. But the unfortunate part, or maybe the fortunate part, depending on how you look at it, is the storms are already advancing out of the state by the time that warm air arrives. So it's a race between the arrival of storms and how far north that warm front can get. Let's go ahead and time that out based on the future radar here. So currently across the state, we do have showers and storms across Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, down toward the Niles area, back through about Lansing, Jackson, Marshall areas. Kind of displayed well here on the radar. As we move into the evening hours, though, the afternoon and evening hours, we're going to have those move out. That line develops here to our west across Illinois and Indiana. Now, keep in mind here at 5 p.m. on the model, that warm front is still kind of sitting off to our south here, so we're not particularly favorable for severe weather. As that line pushes towards us here in Michigan, we do see development of showers and storms here in Michigan, but again, that warm front is still sitting off to our south, so those wouldn't pose much of a severe risk either, or perhaps maybe some hail, but the wind and tornadic risk is quite low in nature until that warm front arrives, if it arrives at all. This is 7 p.m. Here's 8 p.m. That warm front is at the border now. We see some intensification of those cells across the very far southern tip of Michigan. By the time we get to 9 p.m., 10 p.m., we do see those riding the 94 corridor essentially into Lenawee and Washtenaw counties there before they exit into Canada by about 11 p.m. By midnight, we're done with severe weather. So it's a race against time. Backing it up here, we have a warm front trying to surge north this way, and we have storms bearing down eastward this way. So basically, it's a race. How far north that warm front can get before the storms arrive or after the storms arrive. So if the warm front arrives before storms, severe weather is going to be likely across southern Michigan. If it doesn't, it'd be mainly limited to a hail risk. Latest forecast from the SPC, starting with the nationwide forecast, a high risk, a rare high risk in purple pinkish color there from Illinois through Kentucky, Tennessee, back through Missouri and Arkansas. It's pretty rare there. A moderate risk up to about Indianapolis, but do take note, the enhanced risk that was sitting in Michigan is now sitting off to our south, right on the border there. So they took it out of Michigan, but they did keep the slight risk in effect here from roughly just south of Grand Rapids through about Flint over to Port Huron, back through Benton Harbor, point southward. That's going to be because we're unsure how far that north or how far that warm front is going to lift north. If it does lift north, that risk would materialize, and hence why the slight risk is in effect. But if it doesn't, it'd be mainly a hail risk, much lower in nature. So putting it all together in terms of hazards, damaging wind is still the primary concern, I'm going to say. and that's going to be highest in the yellow areas there from Flint to Lansing to Ann Arbor, Jackson, those general areas. A risk does extend further north, but as of right now, we're not too concerned for that risk up further north. We are concerned more so for hail further north because we still can get hail in cold environments if the warm front doesn't lift north. But still, we have the highest risk there in yellow across that slight risk area from Lansing to Flint, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Benton Harbor, any place in between. And then also the risk for a couple tornadoes still does exist with that line. Going back to the model we showed you guys here, where we have that let's go ahead and zoom in here, actually. I want to get a really zoomed in look to kind of display the exact area here for that tornadic risk. So we're going to zoom in way into southeast Michigan here. As we move into the evening hours, right about 9 o'clock here, we're going to see this potent line that exists up here in the southeast corner of Michigan. I think the SPC is seeing that because the warm front kind of beats it there just enough to get into the warm sector for this portion of the line. As such, the SPC does have that 5% tornadic risk kind of along the same lines of what the model is showing those storms. So a higher risk for a couple tornadoes across Monroe, Lenawee, Hillsdale, maybe as far west as Branch counties, and perhaps the southern part of Washtenaw and Wayne County as well, within that 5% risk, which is the highest risk currently in Michigan for a tornado from the SPC. So that is what the SPC is thinking. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're thinking here. What we're kind of thinking here is along the same lines, although we kind of have it a little bit further, about the same or just a little bit further south than the SPC does, kind of mirroring it in a way. We do still think there's potential for that warm front to lift north. We can't say with certainty either way, so we're kind of accounting for it just in case it does. So with that, a medium risk extends up to Grand Rapids, to the Tri-City Saginaw area, back through about Harbor Beach, then points southward. And then further north, we have a low risk there in green, very thin low risk. And then further north, a limited risk, mainly for hail. Let's walk through our hazards here. Number one is going to be, or not number one, but one of the hazards is going to be that tornadic risk. And also, we think the highest is going to be close to the border of Ohio and Indiana there across the southern tier counties. Further north, up to about the Lansing, Hastings area, through about Port Huron, the up to 9.9% there for a tornado possibility. And then further north, it only gets lower from there, 2.9% up to the Tri-City, Stanton, Grand Rapids area. Then further north, it's a much, much lower risk. Main concern today, damaging winds there. The highest concern, again, across Monroe, Lenawee, Hillsdale, Branch counties. Further north, it extends up to right around in yellow to Harbor Beach, the Ovid area, Tri-Cities, Grand Rapids. And further north, the further north you get, it's just going to be a very sharp cutoff of the warm air versus cold air. And last but not least, the hail risk there does extend a little bit further north, as you can see there in green, up to the Grayling, Alpena, Cadillac, but the highest risk does remain further south with any storms that do come in later on in the evening. Main time frame, going back to the models here, for you guys, taking a zoomed out look back to Michigan and running you guys through the time frames here. So this is going to be at 5 p.m. today. We're going to have showers and storms ongoing between now and then. Those will not or should not be severe. The main concern, again, 5 p.m. here, we're seeing these cells develop. It's going to depend on where that warm front is. So as early as 5 or 6 p.m., but again, that warm front, we have a little bit more confidence in it increasing further north here later on the evening, especially for southeast Michigan here. That will come later on about 9, 10 o'clock tonight. So anything really after 5 p.m., we're going to have our eye on for severe weather and with that warm front as well. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. Really, it's just kind of conditional. Again, kind of drawing that back out to we're kind of watching with that warm front. We have a warm front trying to lift north. We have storms bearing down from the east or from the west to east. It's going to be a race against what's going to beat out which factor today. I'll go ahead and leave it up to Joel here. Anything I missed?
Nope. I think we can table into some questions here. Someone mentioned about Eastern UP. For our severe weather risk maps there, again, you guys are just in the thunderstorm category, which means everything's going to be less than a 1% chance of happening.
I will say we do have some ongoing snow and freezing rain up in northern lower and parts of the UP as well. That shouldn't be a huge deal. I will say this, though, with the winds picking up today, with the icing that's already on the trees up there, any other icing that's going to accrete on those trees or just wind in general will likely aid in additional isolated power outages. But other than that, besides slick travel, I don't see much in the way of any impacts up there besides just your typical winter type of system. I don't really see much in the way of any widespread outages or stuff like that to talk about.
Yeah, today's one of those classic 3v1 days, as I mentioned in our post on Facebook and X. You have all ingredients out there except for one. One's missing. And it's literally a 50-50 shot whether or not that's going to make it into the state. And if it does make it into the state, how far north can it make it? As Ryan mentioned, it's a race against the clock. Which one can go further east or further north first? Will the storms outrun the warm front? Or will the warm front make it in time before the storms can develop? And so really, I think a lot of this risk for tonight's going to be kind of confined to the first row of counties in southern Michigan, and perhaps some of southeast Michigan over towards Detroit.
Yep. Kind of visualizing that warm front here. We're about, I'd say, right about here currently with the warm front. And then as we get into the later evening, it's going to slowly drift northward. It's going to be a race against these storms trying to make it eastward. So that's kind of how we drawing it out, visualizing for you. Warm front's trying to lift north. Storms are coming from the west to east. What's going to beat out which? If that warm front can somehow lift northward, the environment across southern Michigan is volatile for severe weather, including tornadoes, including damaging winds, as well as hail. So that is why we are keeping our concern and kind of keeping our wording the same, because if that environment does take shape, it's going to be a higher end environment for severe weather with a lot of wind shear out there, with enough instability, enough moisture. It's going to be a interesting evening, but in the event that the warm front doesn't get into the state in time, at that point we can all breathe a sigh of relief and we'll have minimal severe, if any severe at all. I will highlight that again, even if that warm front doesn't lift north, we still have a risk for large hail tonight. I think that's true for the entire risk area, whether you're in South Michigan, Central, or Northern. I do think there's a risk for hail just because you don't always need that warmer air for hail. This morning in Indiana was a perfect example. We had 38-degree temperatures, and we had ping pong ball size hail line going across Fort Wayne. That could be happening tonight in Michigan too. So keep that in mind.
Couple super chats rolling in here real quick. I'll read them off. Jen, thank you for the $9.99 super chat here on YouTube, saying thank you guys for being awesome, keeping us all informed. No problem, Jen. Appreciate you for tuning in. We also have a $1.99 super sticker from Brittany. Thank you very much, Brittany. And we also have Quake Cat gifting 5 memberships over here on YouTube. So for those who are subscribed on YouTube for free, check your accounts. You may have just been gifted courtesy of Quake. Thank you very much, Quake. And am I missing anything else here? Nope, I am not. I had one more thought regarding, timing. So timing for tonight, I know there has been literally hundreds of requests for a timing map today. Again, there's a lot going on. The best thing that we can tell you is expect anything after 6 o'clock for your peak timing for all hazards severe. If you are further east in the state, the risk will be shifted later into the evening. And originally, this is the reason why we had some of our concerns with making a timing map, is because some of the models had 3-hour differences in terms of when it was actually going to arrive in the state. So we had, I think the NAM, it was arriving in West Michigan at like 11 o'clock, which is insanely late. And then we had the HRRR arriving at like 6 or 7 in the evening. So even like 4-hour difference. And so we didn't want to make it a super big headache. We just wanted to tell you when the peak to expect it just kind of statewide across southern Michigan is. So if you're listening right now and you're pretty much south of US 10, really south of 96, 69 corridor that runs east to west across the state from Grand Rapids to Lapeer to Port Huron, 6 o'clock on the western edge over to the west side of the state, we can be closer to that 9 to 10 o'clock most likely. And then again, severe will be done for the entire state hopefully by 1 o'clock. And then Ryan, if you want to go over the radar for Michigan, feel free.
I'm working on it.
Take it hour by hour.
Yep, working on it. There we go. Hour by hour here, latest model at 16Z, which is noon. Back it up to right now, essentially. We have these ongoing showers and storms across the southern part of Michigan right here. Those are going to work east-northeastward. Not a concern, but we do have concern for these cells. This is at 5 p.m. currently, 21Z up here in the top right. That is 5 p.m. 6 p.m. here, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. That's out of the state. What is the temp needed for severe? How far into the front? Anyone can answer. So in terms of the front, we want it to be north of us. We want to be south of that warm front if we want to see severe weather. If we're on the north side of it or right on it, it's usually it can be again hail, definitely a threat. But for severe weather in terms of tornadoes and wind, you want to be south of that front. So for the southern tier counties, for example, we want to see that front updated or want to see that front up to the 94 corridor, essentially.
There's a lot of comments in here about flooding concerns.
I was going to go over that here in just a second.
Yeah.
We did have, I know here, I'm in Lenawee County here in southeast Michigan. So far today, I think I've gotten just under or about an inch. I'm going to check real quick so far from the morning round. My weather station up here. I am actually at 0.99, which is crazy. So I'm at an inch here in Lenawee County. Additional rainfall, though, let's go ahead and run this through today into tonight. We're going to see additional rainfall, and yeah, there you go. That is actually a little bit more concerning than what we've seen the past couple of model runs here. We have a wide swath here across southeast Michigan. My house at 3.3 inches additional rainfall here. I think that's overdone just a bit. Probably between 1 and 2 inches will be the expectation, maybe isolated higher in thunderstorms. But the widespread area here of meaningful rainfall that we need, honestly. We're still in that drought across Michigan. So seeing that is, it's actually kind of exciting because we might get out of the drought here pretty soon. But in the meantime, it's going to cause some minor issues in terms of flooding. So additional rainfall is likely through tonight. Flood watches are in effect, I know, from Lenawee, Monroe, Wayne, Washtenaw, Macomb, Oakland, St. Clair counties. I believe we also have flood advisories for portions of the western side of Michigan. I want to say, like, let me check real quick.
While you're doing that, I also have, I was putting a lot of time into our severe weather outlooks for today, a lot of going back and forth, but I also did make an updated rainfall map, which hasn't changed much from yesterday, but it has changed a little bit. So Ryan, if you do want to take my screen for a second, I can show that off.
Nope. You got nothing pulled up. Never mind. Yeah, nothing pulled up.
Oh, that's because I haven't shared my screen to begin with. My bad.
Well, Joel,
go back to you for now.
Yep. The flood advisories is for, let me read it here. Allegan, Barry, Kalamazoo, and Van Buren. Between 1 and 2 inches of rain has fallen across the area, with another inch to 2 inches expected through the rest of the afternoon, and several rounds of thunderstorms continue. Minor flooding is expected. Again, that's going to be Allegan, Barry, Kalamazoo, and Van Buren until 6:30 p.m. tonight. Are you good, Joel?
Yep, it's good.
Perfect.
While you change that over, Trisha with the $4.99 super chat saying thunder and downpour in northeast Grand Rapids right now. Thank you, Trisha. A lot of reports in the chat actually right now with thunderstorms in the Grand Rapids area. That is to be expected throughout the day with multiple lines of non-severe storms. Lizzie with a $1.99 super chat as well saying, love this channel, just found it 2 days ago. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lizzie, for tuning in and finding us here. We'll be here again live tonight for any more severe weather coverage if need be. Looking at our map now. I can't shift it over anymore, so you might have to take my box off there so I can speak.
Say bye to Joel, everybody.
Bye. But I'm still here. You can hear the voice behind the scenes. So there's only a little slight shift in the orange. It did encompass Grand Rapids, but that has shifted a little bit south with the timing. Since yesterday's map kind of included last overnight's precipitation, so this kind of now includes just through now through tomorrow morning. Still 2 inches plus expected throughout all of southeast Michigan tonight. Again, I still included that red dashed line there for possible flash flooding with rainfall totals of 2.5 inches or greater. Further north, you get lower amounts. So 1.5 inches, close to an inch if you get up towards Cadillac, Grayling, or towards Atlanta and Alpena. And then as you get towards the bridge there, Telston, Charlevoix, up there near Northport, even on St. James and Beaver Island, that's going to be about your 1/2 inch to an inch range. Of course, a lot of that's going to be falling as freezing rain to start. So it's just liquid equivalent. And also some snow up there, actually, in Houghton and Copper Harbor. But the main concern is going to be your heavy rain, perhaps a little bit of flash flooding, especially of low-lying areas across a lot of Metro Detroit, as well as Jackson, Howell, some other cities that you can see there on the screen. So You can put my face back on. Thank you.
Taking back the my screen here, the latest model run here from the HRRR, the short-term guidance here for the evening hours. We're going to see those storms here 6 p.m. arriving there in western Michigan. That warm front, however, is still sitting off to the south at this time frame. Here is 7 p.m. These do look pretty concerning across southwest Michigan there. But when we flip this over to like our instability, for example, you're going to see the instability is still sitting just off to the south. It's like just on the warm front, essentially. And then as that lifts to the north, these storms develop and they continue to push across the state. But at the same time, there's no surface-based component to these. So these are just going to be some elevated hailers potentially across western Michigan there.
That's another reason why our severe risk is still a little bit further north. Again, just because there's no tornadoes does not mean there's going to be a damaging wind or small to just barely severe hail risk out there.
There we
go. Meyerstone with a $5 super chat here, Ryan. It seems as though the Chelsea and Arbor area cleared the rain out a little bit earlier today than yesterday's models predicted, assuming more instability, question mark?
So as of right now, we're not building anything. The warm front is still off to our south. We can't really build instability in the cold sector of the of the system. Until that warm front lifts above us, we can't really build anything. So any sun you're seeing right now, any clearing of skies or rain, it's not going to mean much. What means everything today is where that warm front is going to be positioned, and as of right now, it's sitting off to our south. AJ becoming a member here at MSC YouTube. Thank you, AJ, for that. Appreciate your support.
Probably pull up Mezzo, maybe. Kind of give a good glimpse at the Mezzo out there right now.
Like this one?
Yeah.
This is your real-time data here on your screen. So what you're seeing... Hold on. What you're seeing there on your screen is red lines here. That is where the warm front currently is. This is also where that surface-based instability is. So anywhere north of that, we're pretty stable on the surface. And that's also why we just said we can't build instability until that warm front lifts above us. So as long as it's sitting off to our south, it's going to be pretty stable up here. Otherwise, we are seeing numerous ingredients for severe weather. For example, here, our supercell composite, basically all the way up to about Kokomo, Indiana, over towards Champaign, Illinois. We're seeing composite of 16 to 12, 8. Like that's pretty potent environment there. Our bulk wind shear today is insane across these regions. So it's definitely a high-end environment here. It's just we got to get that surface-based instability to push northward, and right now that's the main uncertainty. But where it's actually is pushed northward, we do have that enhanced risk, moderate risk, and also a high risk sitting off to the south of us today. So friends and family, if you guys got them down there, send a text. It's going to be a potentially big day further south for you guys, anywhere in the orange, red, or purple colors. Further north up here in Michigan, it's more conditional, again, on that warm front. We can't hit that hard enough and kind of communicate that enough that it's going to be dependent today on the warm front.
There's kind of almost a little bit of a triple point going on out there today where there's two areas of low pressure. There's one that's back in Iowa, and there's one that's semi-situated over Illinois right now, kind of central northern Illinois. Triple point is, again, someplace that we also have to watch where there's going to be a heightened spin. Previous model runs have hinted at higher STP values, significant tornado perimeters, rolling into like the Chicago area, for example. But again, it's hinging on a bunch of things such as instability and where the shower placement actually is in relation to that triple point. So if there's right now, Ryan, if there's a little bit more of a westward shift that I'm seeing on observations, we'll have to watch southwest Michigan a little bit closely. But right now, I think the forecast of a little bit general southern shift in the entire system is still on track.
Yeah. Of course, we're going to be watching things all day. Joel and I will be here behind the scenes watching real-time data, the radar. We'll be doing it all here. So we will be live in the event of any severe or tornado warnings in the state of Michigan, as always.
Yep. And then, as always, if you guys are watching and want Indiana coverage, Indiana Storm Chasing Network or Indiana Weather Online actually now is our new site that you guys can go follow. So we'll have coverage for Indiana today as well. Potential for the O word out there today, Ryan, especially for southern Indiana.
Yeah, so that's going to be a very potent risk down there. We can cover that briefly here, but friends and family out of the Michigan region, we're going to have potential basically all the way from central Illinois back through here, through Indiana, Ohio, back down through Kentucky. It's going to be a very potent environment down there, and that's why we have that moderate and high risk. Would not be surprised to see numerous tornadoes, some of which could be strong in nature, and also multiple instances of damaging winds over 75 miles per hour all along this line here. You can see it's much more potent to our south here. Up here, it's kind of more of a, I guess, disorganized. But further south here, where that warm sector is, where the warm front's already lifted north, that's very unstable and a very supportive atmosphere for severe weather.
Yeah, some discrete supercells out in front. That's the main concern there, especially for southern Indiana.
Trisha with a super chat, $2, says, how do you define a drought? So we don't define a drought. That is up to the discretion of the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center. They are the ones who determine what parts of the nation are in droughts and which aren't. A lot of it has to do with rainfall, soil temperature, soil conditions, river basins. A lot goes into making those forecasts, but I couldn't tell you the specific details.
We also have Evan here, back for month number 9 as an EF1 member, saying almost 1 year. Thank you, Evan, and also gifting 10 memberships to those who are subscribed on YouTube. So thank you, Evan, very much for your support. New Todd plays with a question here, back for month number 2, I guess you could say. Should we all still prepare for tonight? And the answer to that is don't let your guard down. This atmosphere is still, I keep using the word, it's like TNT with the fuse ready to be sparked and go off. The atmosphere is very juiced out there, not in terms of actual juice instability-wise, but all 3 of 4 of our ingredients for severe weather are out there. We're just missing some instability. So again, as that warm front moves north quickly, can it outrun the storms? And if so, how far north can that warm front get before the storms move in? So it could be a all south of Michigan threat, or right now it could be, 94, maybe in a little bit further north of 94 threat. So we really have to watch current surface observations, which right now a little bit tad further west, which would make it more of a concern for southwest Michigan. But again, the line can easily speed up and outrun the warm front here in the next couple hours. So something we'll be watching for sure. Jacqueline with a $5 super chat just saying thank you guys. Thank you, Jacqueline. Mashburn also gifting 10 memberships here on YouTube. Thank you, Mashburn. Again, if you are subscribed here on YouTube and get a gifted membership, those do last for 30 days. They expire automatically. It's up to you if you want to re-up that. Evan gifting 10 more memberships here as well. Thank you, Evan. You guys are very generous today.
Those are completely random, so we can't give those out specifically to certain people. That is a YouTube thing that is not in our control.
Also, welcome back, Alley Cat, for month number 11. Thank you, Alley Cat.
Mackinac Bridge
nice.
is now closed due to falling ice. Just got the update from that. Back
There you go.
closed for falling ice.
Makes sense. A lot of that warm air is starting to head back north now. It's turning into a lot of rain. Threat for tomorrow? No threat for tomorrow. Threat for tomorrow is going to be along that boundary down in like southern Indiana. Michigan will be in the clear.
Let's go over our risk maps again, Joel. We have a lot of questions here from people who are asking about specific locations. So let's go ahead and start with the overall outlook here from us. This is our version, basically, of SPC to you. This is not affiliate. I don't know what's happening to my Facebook. Do you want to pull it up, Joel? My screen's just going nuts right now for some reason.
I see it. It's working on my end.
Can I pull it up on your screen?
I don't have it. Hold on, give me a sec. I don't know what I was editing, but it's pulled up. It's just not gonna fit on the entire screen. So
Here. You're live.
oh, it does fit on the entire screen. Nice.
So again, that's going to be our version of the SPC to you. This is our outlook. We do think that there is a risk for significant severe weather, basically south of Hastings, through Lansing, back to about Flint, to about Port Huron there. I'll take my camera off the screen so you guys can see the other extent of it. There you go. What about the Port Huron area? And then point southward. And then we do have a limited risk up to about the Grayling, Alpena, Cadillac, Ludington area, mainly for large hail. We're not really concerned about wind or tornadoes up in the blue zone there. But down there in the orange zone, from about Coldwater over to Adrian through about Belleville area, that's going to be specifically the highest concern tonight. But just because the models do show the warm front lifting north through that zone, which would give us the risk for all hazards, wind, hail, tornadoes. And then also potential in the yellow zone does exist for all those hazards as well. It's just a lot more uncertainty there because of the warm front positioning, and the confidence is quite low. Going through the hazards here, tornado outlook is going to be highest again there in yellow. That's a 10 to 19%, and that's going to be the highest concern today from us. Up there in the brownish red color, 3 to 9.9%, up to that Lansing, Romeo area, back through about Kalamazoo. Then further north into green, 1 to 2.9%. That goes from Port Huron back to Grand Rapids, and then further north than that, it's a less than 1%. So virtually a very low chance up there. And going into the wind risk there, we do have the highest risk again, where we have that an elevated risk in orange further south from Wayne through Monroe County, back through Adrian, Hillsdale, back through about Coldwater. And then again, the risk goes from 25 to 39% up in the yellow zone to 15 to 24%. And then up in the red zone, it goes to 5 to 14. And then up in the green zone, 1 to 4.9% risk for a damaging wind. Going into the hail outlook, it's going to match pretty much the exact same thing as that wind outlook. Highest concern there with the hatching across much of southern Michigan, 94 corridor there from basically Monroe through Adrian, back through Hillsdale, Coldwater, Sturgis, Niles. And then further north, that risk will get a little bit lower the further north you go, north of Lansing, north of Grand Rapids. It kind of drops off there to a much lower risk. So that's going to be our outlook to you guys. So a lot of you guys are asking, well, the SPC downgraded us. Should I be still aware? The answer is yes, you should be. Don't let your guard down. The risk is conditional tonight on that warm front. If it lifts north, severe threat materializes. If it doesn't, we all breathe a sigh of relief and we escape pretty much unscathed, with potential for still large hailstones tonight. So that is the overall consensus.
Again, those maps will be found on our Facebook page. They were posted right before the live stream happened. So if you have Facebook, they're also on X right now at MI Storm Chasers. You just type in Machine Storm Chasers. They are there. We also have a little bit of a write-up on it that is attached with it. Team Ashburn, thank you for becoming an EF1 member here on our YouTube channel, as well as Vicky becoming an EF0 member. Thank you guys very much. We got Red Dozier as well with a $20 super chat saying, I was out this morning in the storms as they came up from southwest Michigan, but notice the lower clouds are moving in the opposite direction. Why is that? That is your spin in the atmosphere. That is you're taking notice of that high amounts of, you could call it storm relative felicity or just wind shear in general. Again, change in direction with height is something we have to watch on these severe weather days. So when you have clouds moving in one direction at the surface and then another direction, not even a kilometer up, that is going to induce a lot of spin. So it kind of just does this thing, so it spins right up. Simple as that. I don't know if there's a better way to explain that, Ryan, but just a lot of shear.
If you guys ever like past a barber shop and you see that twisty blue and red thing out there, that's kind of what directional shear is. You kind of change direction with height the further up you go in the atmosphere, kind of like a corkscrew.
Josh asking a question here, $2 super chat. Chances Branch County goes into a higher risk. Considering they downgraded a little bit, I don't believe it'll probably go any higher tonight. Again, we will not be releasing any more severe weather outlooks today, but the SBC will be upgrading, or sorry, not upgrading, but updating their outlook at about 4:30. So keep that in mind. If they do see a little bit more warm air advection into the region, then they might pull the enhanced back north. But I think right now they're going to keep it just to the south of the border. And again, even if you're not in an enhanced risk, you're still in a risk nevertheless. It's just a probability-based thing. You're just in lower probabilities. But it is a probability that you have severe weather tonight. So keep that in mind. Just because it's yellow and not orange does not make you immune to the severe weather.
Live look at the warm front and has made it right about to that Kokomo area. This is as of 2:15 on the latest model real-time analysis. So we'll watch it. We're going to be watching that all day today. See how far that gets to the north. How far, or I have a question in chat here, how fast is it moving north? It's kind of hard to tell. They kind of meander. It's not, anything fast usually. So within 4 or 5 hours, it may be close to the border. It all kind of depends on some factors.
Low-level winds are ripping to the north pretty quickly, 40 to 50, so at least. So some of that warm front is advecting north pretty quickly.
Pam and Dennis here in chat, member for 9 months, says, really loved your cake analogy earlier. I used that last year a lot. We had to bring that back a little bit. We have the ingredients for a cake. We got the eggs, got the flour, got the butter. But do we have the oven to cook it all? And that's going to be the big question today. That's a really simple way to kind of put it in perspective.
Question here, is there a GoFundMe for the ice storm that occurred this past weekend? And the answer is yes. It is pinned on our Facebook page. If you just click on our profile, it is attached at the top there. We also have Rose becoming an EF1 level member here on YouTube. Thank you, Rose, for joining the team. Hope to see you around.
Have a stars here on Facebook. Can you say happy birthday to my little storm chaser who is 12 today? Delaney would love to see a tornado today. Well, Delaney, happy birthday. Welcome to the MSC channel. Sheila, message us. Please, message the page.
Can Joel dance again? No, not yet.
Nope. We'll dance after the risk is over. Time for fun and games is not while we're talking about potential severe threat. But once it's over, the gloves are off.
Hey, as long as we get to 40,000 subscribers on YouTube today, you will see me dance. But again, after the risk is done. Add the icing to your cake analogy, and we are in deep trouble. Love that.
Judy says, just found you. Glad to find a channel covering Michigan. We've been here for 2.5 years. We have no plans to stop now. So welcome to the channel, Judy. Glad you found us.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. We know there's a couple regional guys out there that cover the entire United States, but we just like to focus on here in Michigan. Again, we're Michiganders, born and raised. We've been here our entire lives, so we know what the weather kind of does more on a local basis compared to some of our regional friends. So we love covering it, and obviously we know when there's going to be a sneaky surprise day. So we get a lot of those, especially when we get into the summertime here. You guys know it with the lake breezes and whatnot. So we're always ready tracking. And even on the marginal risk days where there's maybe one severe thunderstorm possible, we'll still be here tracking. So if you're on the boat during any summer day, we see there's severe weather out there, we'll be here in the studio. Classic with a $4.99 super chat here on YouTube. Thank you guys for what you do. Thoughts on the tornado risk in cold water? First of all, thank you, Classic. And second of all, tornado risk in cold water is going to be at least a 5% from the SBC. In our map, we have them just below that, or just above, I should say, that 10 to 19% chance for a significant tornado. Again, the significant hatching that you see on there is a additional 10% chance to see a strong tornado, which would be EF2 and higher in strength. Just because there is so much spin out there in the atmosphere, as Red Dojo was pointing out, the clouds moving in the opposite directions. Again, atmosphere is primed, as we mentioned, but we need that instability. So tornado risk is definitely there for cold water, perhaps significant. And we'll be watching our real-time models in the coming hours. Again, for those just tuning in, peak timing for severe for really anywhere in the state tonight is going to be after 6 o'clock. We don't have a timing map out, but we can tell you for sure, since there's a lot of uncertainty still going on, that anytime after 6 is really going to be the time to watch. Little Redhead back from month number 7. Ryan, are you going to be out chasing today? Thank you all for what you guys do. Love watching your streams. Ryan, you want to answer that?
The answer is no. I am basically in where I would chase today in Michigan. If I was chasing, it'd be in the bottom 3 counties, southeast corner. So I'm already here, but I'll be on stream here with Joel and MSC, and potentially as well as Indiana tonight. So I have work to do behind the scenes, and I also have a good position based on what I'm seeing on models. So I'm quite content where I'm at. Granville, Wyoming looks like it's going east. Thank you, Gas, for that super chat. The answer is potentially. Going back to the model here, we really can't say for sure because models are kind of all over the place currently. The latest model, I would say, actually puts you guys kind of back into threat there around that 7 o'clock time frame, perhaps for some of that larger hail. But the most of this does miss you to the east based on latest model here. But don't let your guard down regardless. We have those storms that line that could develop anything from the west side of Michigan, from the east side of Michigan. So anywhere between is really in a threat tonight.
I would say the risk has definitely decreased for Granville, Wyoming area there in Grand Rapids. But there's still a risk there nonetheless. Don't let your guard down. That's why we're here. We want to communicate the probabilities as easily as possible to you guys. It might be a low probability, but it is a probability nonetheless. So again, thank you, Gas, for that super chat. We also have a super chat from Ashley here, $5. Sky just got a lot brighter in Kalamazoo. Still lots of clouds and raining, though. Weird. I believe if I look at satellite, some of those, actually, yeah, there's a little bit of a break in the clouds that'll probably fill back in. It's actually moving up towards Grand Rapids right now. So a little bit brighter, but the general consensus right now is still very, very cloudy and rainy across all of southern Michigan. I do have satellite pulled up. If you wanted to take me for a brief second.
You are up.
Let me change my sector here. So you can see a lot of clearing actually starting to move in now. Quicker, actually, for portions of Illinois. We'll have to watch this as this moves off to the east a little bit. I'm going to change the sector for more of a Michigan look so you can see the entire state. And you don't have to take my box off the screen. So here's Michigan. Again, the entire state, all 83 counties in some sort of overcast conditions right now. Right here over northern Kalamazoo County, southern Allegan County, even southern Berry County, there's a little bit of clearing in the clouds. But you can see there's going to be more high moisture type clouds coming in over Lake Michigan right now. So keep that in mind. It might be brief, and that instability is still way south of the warm front. RIP severe weather. Not out of the woods yet. Gotta wait and see, especially if you're in southern Michigan, southeast Michigan. We won't be streaming for the rest of the day. We're gonna wrap this briefing up here pretty soon. We'll hop off, get some food, make some more graphics perhaps, and then we'll be back here live as any severe warnings get live or get issued here. Get live. Wow. English is very hard sometimes, but yeah, as warnings get issued, we will be live. That is our motto, covered from beginning to end. First warning issued, last warning to expire. And with any of our content on any of our pages, we like to say, show you care, like and share. So any way you want to let your Michigander friends know that there is a severe risk today, feel free to do that. Little Redhead with also a $5 super chat here on YouTube saying, you guys rock. Rock and roll, absolutely. Thank you very much, Little Redhead. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Ryan. You looked like you wanted to say something.
I was about to. It was going to be a thank you to Red, but you got it.
Perfect. Damaging winds, did they happen this morning or are they expected this evening? They're still possible this evening with any line of showers, thunderstorms, even non-severe. Why are we making this a hashtag? Please don't. Hashtag get live to Joel 2025. Oh no.
Look what you started, Joel.
What have I done?
Alexandra with a super chat says, do we have a total for rainfall? I'm in Charlotte. Everything is flooded around us. Thanks for what we do. In terms of rainfall here, I'll go over the latest guidance here based on the latest model. Additional rainfall across the state. We have a good swaths here of about 1 to 2 inches in spots, and specifically for Charlotte, about a ½ inch to as much as an inch close by to you. So about another ½ inch or so to an inch expected.
All I see in chat right now is hashtag get live. No. I should know better. I should know that everything gets clipped now, so when I dance, it shows up as a GIF on our Discord and stays there forever. You guys are fun. Shout out to those who are on our Discord channel.
Well, we've been live here for about 50 minutes, so let's go ahead and wrap this up here. I'll give a brief overview, and then we're going to hop out of here and get in preparation for anything severe tonight. So starting with the SPC outlook here, we do have a slight risk now. They downgraded from the enhanced to a slight. That's going to be for Benton Harbor, up through Lansing, through Flint, through Port Huron, point southward. A low-end marginal risk extends further north to Roscommon areas. That's in your dark green color there. The enhanced is now sitting off to our south on the border, very close by. So technically, if you want to be specific, 25-mile point, anywhere of those bottom counties there on the border would technically be an enhanced risk. But they did move it out of Michigan. The wind risk is going to be highest again in yellow there, lowest in the brownish red color further north. Across the border in Indiana, Ohio there, that red hatched area, that's going to be for significant wind gusts as well as higher probabilities. Looking at the hail risk, 15%, again, same areas as a slight risk in yellow. And then up further north in brownish red, we're seeing a much lower risk, as well as potential for a couple tornadoes across the state today, mainly along in south of 94. But that 2% risk does extend further north up to Roscommon. Our forecast maps here, we do have our version of that. The overall outlook, pretty similar in nature. We did put the bottom tier counties in our elevated risk, which is orange. The yellow risk extends up to about Grand Rapids, Saginaw through about Harbor Beach. Then further north, a limited risk from Ludington to about Alpena. Hazards, we're kind of mirroring the outlook The tornado risk is highest there in that brownish red color and yellow colors. There's also hatch potential is there for a stronger tornado due to the wind shear, but only if we have the instability to do that. We also have a wind risk across southern Michigan. It's a much lower risk further north, but highest across the 94 corridor, especially perhaps up to 96 if that warm front can surge north. Then last but not least, the hail risk, similar to the wind risk, is highest in the southern part of Michigan, around 94 and 96 corridors, much lower further north as well. The time frames and the models here, going back to the latest guidance here. We're going to run this through the time frames here. We're seeing isolated showers and storms out there this morning, this afternoon. Those should not be severe. Our concern ramps up here after 5 p.m. This model here on your screen is now 6 p.m. We are going to be looking at storms developing and pushing into western Michigan around that time frame. And the biggest question, should I say, is going to be how far north the warm front can get. So the big limiting factor today, we have a warm front here, as noted here in the warmer colors. That's your warm front. This is trying to push northward, and we have a line of storms developing over here later today, which is going to try and surge eastward. How far north that warm front's going to get is going to be the main question, the main factor of how severe these storms are going to be. They're going to come from the west. So if the warm front stalls south of the border, that means our risk is then limited to mainly a hail risk. If that warm front can lift north into Michigan, how far north it gets is still in question. But if it can lift into Michigan, then that risk becomes for all hazards, wind, hail, and tornadoes. So going into the model here into the future, here is 6 p.m. Let's go ahead and move this forward here to 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. By about 11 or so, these storms are moving out into Canada, leaving us with just some residual rainfall, maybe a rumble of thunder, but then the risk is out of the state by about the 11 o'clock time frame. So it's going to be a interesting night, to say the least. These may be hail producers, they may be nothing producers, or they could be all hazard producers. We're just not going to know that just yet. All eyes are on the warm front, as we can see here on the screen. That is going to be what we are watching throughout the afternoon today. And we'll have updates on throughout the day today as well. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here and say a shout out to our sponsor on the left side of your screen there, Mike Hayes Roofing and Siding, based out of Sanilac and St. Clair counties. For roofing and siding needs in the Thumb region, especially in those two counties listed, Mike Hayes has you covered. 810-984-4564 is the number to call to get a hold of them. And they are the spotlight sponsor today on our Michigan Storm Chasers YouTube and Facebook live stream. We also have other sponsors. We're going to list these off. Storm Guard Roofing Construction, Pro Powder, McKay Tree Specialist, Lifestyle Exteriors, Kuiper Tree Care, Katz Roofing and Siding, Gull Lake Tree Pro, FBI Buildings, Guardian Technologies, On Top Roofing, and Henkel's Tree Care. All these sponsors can be found on our website. They provide tree services, roofing, siding, security, or powder coating needs. If you have needs of the service, we highly recommend these guys, as we have vetted all of them and partnered with them to service the state of Michigan for you guys if you need their services. So thank you to all these sponsors. We cannot do what we do without their help. Any last words, Joel? That sounded threatening. Any last words, Joel?
I'm gonna get lived, so I mean, maybe I don't know. But we do have a $2 super chat here from Killjoy asking if there's any watches or warnings going to be issued later, and the chances of that are potentially mainly for our southern rows of counties. So keep an eye out for that. Again, we don't issue the watches and warnings; those are at the discretion of the Storm Prediction Center and the local National Weather Service offices. So we will relay those to you guys if/when we get those later tonight issued for our area. So yeah. Other than that, there's no more super chats on here on YouTube, so we can go ahead and roll that outro. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you want more than one way to watch our live streams tonight, you want to follow us on more than one platform that we do go live on, which is going to be either Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X. You can pick from any of those, or you can follow us on all four if you're a diehard fan. So again, we do recommend, in case one of the social media sites does go down for whatever reason. We had issues, especially with Facebook in the past. So following us on YouTube, following us on Twitch, whatever you got to do to watch us in more than one location, we do recommend. And as always, hit that like button on your way out. So take it away, Ryan.
We're watching here throughout the afternoon. Expect updates on the page. We got you guys covered, and we'll likely see you later tonight for some coverage of severe weather.
See you, everybody.